Hello everybody. In this video we'll be covering color pencil and how to illustrate with layers of color in a drawing. I'll be focusing on the drawing of a bird here called a kingfisher. And what we're going to do is we're going to prepare our space first. So along with our prepared drawing, our line work, we're going to have our color pencils, sharpener, an eraser, our resource photo, and a piece of scrap paper for practicing color and of course protecting your paper. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten up my original drawing sketch if I felt like the pencil line was too bold and was going to have issue with the color pencil. So by slightly erasing, you won't lose your line, you'll just soften it. Now it's picking an area that I want to start with. So pick an area that you're comfortable to start in. I'm going to start with the blue part of the wings here, and I'm going to pick a color that is similar to the base color that we see. So it's about a turquoise type color. So I'm going to bring in a soft coat of that. Don't want to come in heavy. So I'm holding the pencil very softly and holding it at a low angle. So I'm going to softly fill those areas. And then I'm going to go on to the breast area of the bird. Again, erase when you need to if you feel like some pencil lines are a little too aggressive. And I'm going to bring in a very light tone of a soft orange in here, because I'm going to have to figure out how to make that color. Feel free to kind of begin doing fades and gradients where a color goes from more intense to less at this time. And there's also a little kind of yellowy orange picked up on the branch, so I'm going to put that down as well. I always like to start with my lightest tones first and then build my darks up. I typically never work dark to light. I work light to dark. That way I can build my drawing up comfortably, and I can always handle highlights in lighter areas more easier and more comfortably. I see that there's a shadow that fades up to the light on the branch, so I'm coming in with some purple to deepen that there. Purple naturally enhances and deepens yellows, so that's a good choice there instead of a black. As I walk through, I'm again just putting in subtle layers of color. I noticed that there's some definitely like plumes of yellow in the warm part of the feathers, so I'm going to also layer in some soft yellows. Again, I can build this up heavier later on, as you'll see. Details come in later. So I'm analyzing my picture, and when I start to darken colors and create shadows, I think about the opposites of the colors I've laid down. So if I was going to darken some blue areas, I'm going to use some warm colors like reds and oranges. A yellow would not be a good choice because yellow would create greens with the blue. Here I'm adding some purple tones to the darker areas of the feathers where the shadows lie, because it's going to deepen that sense of that blue wing, but it's going to create a dark value as well. And later on I'll be using some warm colors to deepen that even more. If I put in black, generally you'd run into probably too much contrast off the bat. So bringing in this purple allows the lighter tones of blue that I laid down to stand out and allows shadows to start to emerge, which ends up creating detail. To create the feather look, I followed the direction of the wing and what the line work is suggesting to me. So I'm always constantly paying attention to the movement of the textures in my drawing. That's why having a good resource or good set of resources will be helpful for you, no matter if you're drawing something that's made up from your mind or something that exists in reality, like this bird here. So I'm going over into all the bluish areas that need to have a deeper textural area with that purple, because I think it serves as a good deeper note of color. So instead of just focusing on the wing, I'm going all around the bird and treating the areas with that need it. It's an efficient way of building up your drawing, so you're not hopping around with like different colors every couple seconds. You're kind of focusing with one big color at a time. in my second layering here. Now I'm layering. I'm coming in with some deeper, deeper areas of value by applying more pressure to my pencil, and that enhances the contrast, which allows more details. Some textures will be feathery, so you're going to do kind of small swipes of line, while other textures are going to can look kind of crumbly on things, which you can use a doodle type technique to experience that. That's your job to also experience and practice with the textures that you're trying to create on your subject. So this layering process is going to be built up throughout. I'm trying to think if I'm going to use any green to enhance the blues here, because the blue gets a little bit more vibrant now. So I can use the turquoise that I used as the base with a little bit more pressure. But I feel like the green's not really doing what I thought it was going to do. So I'm glad I just added a little bit. I'm going to enhance this turquoise color with another color. It's going to be a different type of blue. It's more of a kind of a sky blue, and that's going to help mix and create the quality of color I want on the bird's body. The green would get a little bit too aqua-like. I'm also now going to go into the chest of the bird, and I'm going to use a deeper orange. It's almost more of a red orange, and that's going to start to give me enhancements to the textures. So I have that soft orange, soft yellow, and now I'm bringing in a deeper orange, and I'm using more textural lines to suggest the feathers. So I'm not filling in anymore. I'm actually applying texture with the color. That's done by myself, just following the direction. Just as if you were drawing a tree and you were following the direction of the bark, here I'm following the direction of the feathers. So constantly look at your work for feedback and your resources to see how you're doing with that. Detail happens with color by building up layers and enhancing contrast, and by mixing colors you create something that has more life, more abundance of volume, and the intensity of colors mixing together creates a more natural finish as well. I'm not going to get into background in this illustration. I'm going to focus on the foreground subjects more, because of time, and that's something that can be more discussed on an individual basis as well. At this time, I'm coming in with a little bit of a dark blue to enhance some shadows. I'm also going to be going in with this deep orangey red to kind of mix back in to those blues that I added to darken the orange. The layering of colors helps mix and create a more quality finish to your work. I'm using a little gray here to soften some of the feather texture, so it doesn't get too much darker, but it needs more of a neutral tone to it. And also enhancing with brown. There's a pumpkin-y type color that I'm seeing in the feathers, so oranges mixed with blues and browns will give me that neutral, warm orange look I'm looking for. And whenever you have a question about how to mix colors, it's a good thing is take a piece of scrap paper and see how you do, and then we can always work from there. Taking an intense red here and working it into some of the dark spaces of the feathers to create that warm versus cool combination of deep tones. Later on in the drawing, I will start to apply black color pencil. to finish up any areas that need a little bit of outline work and also some more aggressive contrast as well. I like to keep sharp color pencils when drawing, because when you need that crisp mark, it's very important with a sharp color pencil. If you have a dull color pencil, you can never achieve that crisp area that you're trying to do, and especially with this drawing, I need crisp lines to suggest the feather work on my birds. Again, I'm enhancing layers here, some darker browns. Your color pencil set contains a few different types of browns, more of a neutral tan one to all the way to down to a dark umber, which is like kind of a dark chocolate color. Bringing in some yellow there for some enhancements, bring some brighter tones against all those darks. Strengthening some of my areas of deep shadow to help create more of a more three-dimensional look. I noticed a little bit of a green tinge in some areas. And then developing some textures here on the bird as well. As you work on a piece, closer inspection, and when you're about halfway through work, that's when you can really start to discover and describe some of those innate small textures that you are waiting to sink your teeth into. Usually in the very beginning, it might be too early to start to apply that information. You need to kind of get a good base. So you do have to pace yourself. If not, you can kind of get in your own way. So right now I'm bringing in some textures on the feathers that would have totally gotten in the way if I started them earlier. This is the perfect time now that I've built up the wing pretty much to where I need it to be. I can finish up with some of my smallest details. The white color pencil is excellent for mixing and binding colors together to get rid of some of those textures some of us don't like about color pencil, seeing like a lot of the white of the paper. The wax from the color pencil smushes together the colors to create more of a painterly effect in a more professional looking color pencil illustration in the end. You'll see a lot of artists use that. There are wax pencils you could buy, but a white color pencil does a wonderful job. So you can put it into a dark area and it's not going to turn the area white. It's actually going to help blend. Think about a white color pencil as a blending tool like you use with pencil. It really helps incorporate all those layers together. And if you notice it might not, you might have to come in more sensitively with your colors so the white color pencil can really push them together. As I go into the final range of steps on my bird here, I'm bringing in some deeper tones here on the chest of the bird that will help kind of puff it up and pump it up so the highlights stand out. Any line work or outlining I need to do is done now to help enhance edges and details on the subject. And now what I'll do is I'm going to add texture and shadow to the branch as well. So I'm going to be a little bit looser with this because it is a branch, so lines are a little bit more distinct and because of the texture of the tree. So some bold outlining is good. I'm using blue on that. It's for some cool tones against the kiss of warm yellow on the branch. I'll go in really dark at the bottom and add some additional textures to show the three-dimensionality of the branch and the knottiness of the wood. Then drop shadow from the bird on there will help and enhance the relationship between the bird and the branch, so they are working together and they don't feel like they're drawn separately. I'm bringing in some warm oranges to bring in some of the color tones, and bringing in some blues to contrast that, to bring in some of the drop shadow as well. And there you have it. A little bit more work to finish this up, but I'm really happy with it. And I hope you learned something here about the process of building up layers of color.